most of that first pair. Just caught the end as Sword de Vries with a very quick time, 108.18. Took that one. Boisvert-Lacroix just behind him, 109.5. So that was the first pair of 1,000 meter men. We have many, many pairs to come. 77 total pairs of men's 500 meter, of men's 1,000 meter. Apologies. 39 total races. So these races are quadded, meaning that 4 skaters will be on the ice at the same time. As our second pair is underway, our third pair just got off the line as well. This is Anne-A Liu from China and Jacob McKenzie from Ontario in our first pair. Richard McLennan and Mikael Mulder in our second pair. Mulder took the opener over McLennan, 16-2, 16-6 for McLennan. It's going to be a tight straight back there on the crossover as we look at our first pair coming through. McKenzie has the lead, 24.8 is his lap time, 25.1 for Liu, 24.8 is a very quick lap time for Jacob McKenzie. So we have a look at our second pair coming through. 24.8 for Mulder, 25.1 for McLennan. So far, McKenzie and Mulder neck and neck. They'll cross the line. 108.11 for Anne-A Liu. 108.26 for Jacob McKenzie. 2 very quick times. So we look at Mikael Mulder driving to the line. His final time, 107.98. 108.59 for McLennan. So Mulder and Liu looking very happy with those times. As we've had some quick races right away here this morning in the men's 500 meter. So Mikael Mulder, that's his first time cracking the 108 barrier. He skated a 107.98, personal best for him. So up next at the start, we have 2 more pairs, 4 skaters. In the first pair, Konrad Nagy and Tao Yang. Nagy's from Hungary, Yang from China. They'll be followed by Dan Carruthers from Ontario and Joost Born from the Netherlands in the outer. So the inner lane in the first pair wears the white armband. So Nagy in white, Yang in the outer with the red armband. Look for Carruthers in the yellow armband and Born in the blue armband. As our first 2 skaters are through 200 meters, opening splits, 16.7 and 17.0. So through 200, Yang has the lead. Second pair is through 200. As we see this, the pair behind them just trying to catch him. 16.7 for Born, Carruthers 17.0. First lap times for Nagy and Yang. 25.3 for Nagy, Yang 25.6. This is going to be a close race at the finish line. As Born and Carruthers come through. Both in the mid-25s. Nagy and Yang will cross the line. They'll finish. Nagy winning this one, 109.06. His final lap time was a 26.6. So very little die-off for Konrad Nagy, 110.48 for Tao Yang. As Joost Born will win the second pair of this quad. Pumps his fist. His final time, 109.41. He's happy with that one. 109.89 for Carruthers. So chaotic action here with the men's 1,000 meter. As these races are quadded, meaning 4 racers skating at the same time. 1,000-meter is a sprint distance, so it's just as fast as the 500. It can be a little nerve-wracking to be the second pair to the line in these quadded races, because you know that there's a freight train of a race coming behind you, especially with these fast guys. So we're now on to our fourth quad, our fourth quartet. This is pairs 6 and 7. Martin Corbett in the white armband, Yang-Su Chen in the red armband. Corbett's from Ontario, Chen from China. They'll be followed by An Bi Liu from China and Sam Deckert from Manitoba, yellow and blue respectively. As we get some split times, opening lap times for Corbett, 17-1, 17-4 for Xu. Liu, 16-4, 17-0 for Deckert. So Liu taking the opener in this court. As Corbett leads his pair through. His first 400-meter lap time, 25-7, 25-9 for Chen. Let's see if Liu can keep this advantage. 25-3, so that's the fastest lap time we've seen in this quad. Sam Deckert, 25-6. There'll be a crossover issue on the other side. We won't see it. But Martin Corbett will finish his final time, 109.82. It's good for ninth. Yang-Su Chen, 111.36. And Yu's going to drive to the line. Deckert trying to catch up, but Yu will take his pair, 109.53, 109.59, 110.59 for Sam Deckert. That was our fourth quartet. We're now moving on to quartet number 5. This is pairs 8 and 9. In the inner lane from Ontario, in the white armband, Ben Donnelly. In the outer lane from China, in the red armband, Yanan Jin. They'll be followed by Marcel Bosker in the yellow armband and Christopher Fiola in the blue armband. Sorry. So our first pair is underway. Donnelly and Jin. Oh, apologies. This isn't Ben Donnelly. This is Jacob Graham and Yanan Jin. Marcel Bosker and Chris Fiola behind them. Fiola's opening split, 16-5. Quick opening split for Christopher Fiola, 17-4 for Bosker. Jacob Graham with a 16-6. So Fiola and Graham neck and neck. 25-4 and 25-5 for Jacob Graham and Jin Yanan. It's going to be a close race for those two as they cross over on the backstretch. Fiola driving ahead of his pair. His first last lap time, 25-16, 25-62 for Bosker. Get a shot of those guys crossing over the backstretch. As Jacob Graham and Jin Yanan will come to the line. Close race. Jin, 109.33, 109.36 for Graham. So Jin just squeaking out ahead of Jacob Graham. 109.10 for Bosker, and Fiola 108.80. So Fiola with a quick time there. Oh, moving on to our next set of races. These ones will feature Stephen Hartman from the United States in the white armband and Braden Klutze in the red armband. They'll be followed by Danielle Dubreuil in the yellow armband and Jeffrey Swider-Peltz in the blue armband. The armbands indicate which lane the skaters start in this 2.5 lap 1,000 meter race. Skaters start staggered on the backstretch because they skate an odd number of corners. Stephen Hartman and Braden Klutze underway, and they're going to try and rock it out of this first corner. So important to build your speed quickly, as fast as possible in the thousands. Klutze took that opener 17-2, 17-5 for his pair. Now Dubreuil and Swider-Peltz are underway as we look at our first pair crossing over the backstretch. Dubreuil will take that opener. 17-0 is his opener. 17-3 opening time for Swider-Peltz. Dubreuil looking strong on that backstretch. And the opening lap times for Hartman and Klutze, low 26s. It's a close race between those two as Dubreuil and Swider-Peltz will come through. They are quicker, 25-6, 25-7 for Swider-Peltz. They'll cross over one last time on the backstretch as our first pair will come through the line. Their final times 1:10.61 and 1:11.31. Dubreuil leads Swider-Peltz to the finish line, kicking for the line. His final time 1:09.73, 1:10.39 for Swider-Peltz. So we're now moving on to our sixth quartet. Sorry, this is our seventh quartet. 12, 13, Christian Oberbichler from Switzerland and Cooper Emmen from Nova Scotia in the first pair. They'll be followed by Tyson Langelar and Darren Huang from Manitoba and Chinese Taipei. See these skaters trying to build up to speed. In the first pair, Oberbichler took the opener. The only skater under 17 seconds in this race. As our second pair comes through, 17-4 for both skaters. 1,000 meter is a sprint middle distance. That means that there are some skaters who are pure sprinters who will start really quick and then die off by the end. Other skaters start a little bit slower but make up for it with extra endurance. Now, it looks like Darren Huang is just behind his pair, Tyson Langelar, through 600 meters. As our first pair crossed the line, 1:11.33 was Oberbichler and 1:12.82 for Emmen. Langelar finishes 1:10.12. You can tell he wanted to break that 1:10 barrier. Came close. Good race for him. As we are now going to move on to our next pair. This is Henrik F. Ruke from Norway and Jess Neufeld. Lining up behind them, it's Xin Sun from China and Connor Howe from Alberta. So our first pair is underway. Through their first 200 meters, trying to build speed, Ruke and Neufeld. So they come through their 200-meter splits. 16-7 for Ruke, 17-2 for Neufeld. As our second pair is underway, this is Sun and Howe. Through 200 meters, Sun has the lead, 17-5, 17-9 for Connor Howe. So Henrik F. Ruke has the fastest time through the first 200 meters, and he maintains his lead, 25-7, his 400-meter time. Jess Neufeld, 25-8, so Neufeld starting to make up some ground. Let's see if he has got the legs on the last 400. Sun and Hao with 1 lap to go. Sun with a big lead. He'll likely go over the top of his pair on the backstretch. And at the finish line, Henrik F. Ruke will finish with a final time of 109.75. 110.56 for Neufeld. That's a PB for Ruke. Sun finishes at the time of 110.77. Connor Howe, 113.07. So those were pairs 14 and 15. We're now moving on to pairs 16 and 17. 4 more skaters. The first pair, international race. We have the American Kyle Ronchak in the inner lane and Chenlong Zhu from China in the outer. Lining up behind them is Hongquang Zhang from China and Antoine Roger from Quebec. So our first pair is underway. 1,000 meters is sometimes a tough distance because the skaters have to build up speed on that first corner. They only get half a straightaway of start strides before they have to start crossing over. So opening splits for that first pair were 17.2 in the inner lane, 17.7 in the outer. So that's Ronchak taking the lead through 200. 16.8 for Zhang, 17.2 for Roger. So an interesting race lining up here in the second pair. Now, split times for the first pair. 26 seconds for both skaters. Ronchak 26.2, 26.6 for Chenlong. Zhang leading the second pair, 25.6, 26.0. So Yongqiang Zhang with a commanding lead through the first 600. As Ronchak will finish, 111.19 is his final time. Zhu Chenlong, 113.09 as our last, or the second pair comes to the last corner. And Zhang will take it, 109.94, 110.85 for Roger. Up next, we have another quad. This race will feature Cooper Hunter in the white armband inner lane, first pair. Odin by Farstad from Norway in the outer with the red armband. They'll be followed by Alan Dahl Johansen from Norway with the yellow armband inner pair in the second pair. Rob Watson from Ontario in the outer with the blue armband. As our first pair is underway, their opening splits, both in the 16s, 16-7, 16-8. So quick openers for Hunter and by Farstad. As Johansson and Watson are underway now, trying to build up speed. Johansson opening split 17.5, 17.7 for Watson. So Hunter and Farstad with quick openers, their opening split times both in the 25s. As they're neck and neck through 600 meters, be an interesting finish. As we look at Rob Watson and Dahl Johansson come through as they hear the bell. 400 meters left. Split times 25.7 for Johansson, 26.5 for Watson. And by Farstad will finish strong. Pumps his fist at the end. 109.80. He's happy with that one. 110.91 for Cooper Hunter. So great race for Odin by Farstad. As Alan Dahl Johansson will finish 109.33. What a finish for Alan Dahl Johansson. Rob Watson, 112.24. So Alan Dahl Johansson, His lap times mid 25, low 26, so very little die off after a comparatively slow start. Keep an eye on his 1500 meter on Sunday. If he can finish 1,000 like that, he'll finish a 1500 meter very strongly. So this is our next pair, Jeff Ross and Stephen Killari. Jeff Ross from Alberta, Killari from India. They're followed in the same quartet by Thies Govers from the Netherlands and Jake Weidman from Ontario. Opening splits for Ross and Killari. 16-8 for Jeff Ross, Stephen Killari 17-2. This is Govers and Weidman coming through 17-2 and 17-5. So Jeff Ross with the fastest opener of the bunch. Fast opener doesn't mean a fast 1,000 though. See if he's got the legs to hold it. Jeff Ross's first lap, 26.3, 26.4 for Killari. So Killari will look to make up some ground on this last lap. Jeff Ross may be fading. Thies Govers, 25.7, 25.9 for Weidman. As both skaters gritting their teeth down that last 200, the hardest part of the 1,000. Jeff Ross, 111.97. He's pumped about that. Stephen Killari, 112.44. So Jeff Ross breaking the 112 barrier after a quick opener. Thies Govers, 109.95. Jake Weidman, 110.76. And Govers got a high five from his coach. Good time for him. As we look at our 12th quartet, pairs 22 and 23. Zhu Feng Sun from China and Magna Notland from Norway. They'll be followed by Brett Perry and Chuang Zhang, an American and a Chinese. As our first pair is through 200, their opening split 16-7, 17-3. So with a 16-7, Zhu Feng Sun opening quick. Brett Perry and Chuang Zhang will be looking to match that. Brett Perry skating a big PB in his 500 meter this morning. Be looking to do that again in the 1,000. 17.4 was his opener. And Zhang 17.7. As our first pair is through 600. One lap to go for Sun and Magna Notland. Identical lap times, 26.1. Sun had the faster opening split though. Notland will be looking to make up ground. Bell lap now for Perry and Zhang. 26.6 for Zhang. Perry 27.0. And Sun, hands in his knees, will drive to the line. 1:10.26 is his final time. Magna Notland 1:11.04. As we look at our last pair finishing up their final 200, the always painful last corner in the 1,000 meter. Zhang will take it. 1:12.41, 1:12.96 for Perry. No quarter given in the 1,000 meter. There's no opportunity for skaters to let off the gas at any point during the race. You start hard, you skate hard through the first corner, you skate the fastest lap you can, and then hang on for dear life. You'll see some of these big sprinter guys struggling to move their feet in the last corner. Look for the contrast between their legs in the first and second corners and then the last one. As we have a look at Jérôme Detunc and Inigo Vidondo from Quebec and from Spain through this first corner. Their opening split 17-0 and 17-5. This is Livio Wenger from Switzerland. He's racing Wojciech Krasnicki from Poland. Let's see if they can match that first pair's opening splits. Just a little off. 17-5 and 17-7 for Krasnicki. So Jérôme Detunk, the class of this quartet through 200. Let's see if he maintains his lead. He's still ahead of his pair, but Inigo Vidondo gaining ground as we look at Wenger and Krasnicki coming through with 1 lap to go. Wenger 25.9, 26.4 for Krasnicki. So Wenger with the fastest time of the quad. Close race at the finish. Detunk will take it by a hair. 1:11.67. Lifts his hands in the air. That's a personal best. 1:11.78 for Vidondo. As our second pair is going to finish up now. Wenger's carved out a big lead for himself. Looking strong. 1:10.25. 1:11.94 for Krasnicki. Up next, we have the American Christian Gowick in the inner lane. He's racing Nicholas Hiller from BC in the outer. Starting a half lap behind them will be David Larue du Québec and Haolun Li from China. So this is Gowick leading the way through 200. 17-4, 18-0 for Hiller. And David Larue and Haolun Li right behind them. David Larue coming off a great season. This is his first season skating long track. He's qualified and competed at Junior World. Opening splits, low 17s for both skaters. Oh, and it looks like we had a crash there. David Larue going down on the backstretch. And he looks okay. Got out of the way of the next pair as they come through. So Haolun Li skating on his own now after David Larue fell. 1 lap to go. Lap time 26.6. And this is Hiller driving to the line. He's going to beat his pair. 1:11.85 for Nico Hiller. Gowick 1:13.69. As Haolun Li, with his hand on his knee, is going to come around this last outer and struggle to the line. Haolun Li's final time, 1:13.59. Hard to know if he was delayed by that crash from David Larue, who went down hard on his second corner of that 1,000 meter. And so we will have a brief delay here for ice repair. So far, through 27 pairs, the fastest time of the morning was set by Mikael Mulder, 1:07.98. Next fastest time was A.A. Liu from China, 1:08.10. Sword de Vries had the third fastest time, 1:08.18. Fastest Canadian was Jacob McKenzie, the 1:08.26. So not only is this the last competition of the season for skaters from all over the world, international skaters come here to try and set good times. This is also Canada Cup number 4, an important domestic competition on the Canadian circuit. It's the last opportunity for skaters to attempt to qualify for the national and national development teams. they gain points. So Jacob McKenzie taking the fastest time for a Canadian in that 1,000 meter will gain the maximal amount of points. That'll go a long way to helping secure some funding for next season. Richard McLennan was right behind him. As we are awaiting the end of ice repair after the fall from David Larue. Stay tuned for more 1,000 meter action. Espen Nordfun and Guillaume Labbé will be up next. So this is quad 15, Espen Nordfun and Guillaume Labbé underway after a brief ice repair. Nordfun from Norway, Labbé from Quebec. They're followed by JC Lataille from Alberta and Mateusz Czarek from Poland. Opening split, 17-3 for Nordfun, Labbé 17-7. See if Lataille or Czarek can keep up. Lataille 17-6, 17-8 for Czarek. So Nordfun with fastest time so far. See if he can hold that lead. Guillaume Labbé making up ground though. He's taken over in this pair. 26-9 is his lap time. Over half a second faster than Espen Nordfun. As we look at Mateusz Ozarek trying to stay on his feet with one lap to go in the second pair. This is JC Lataille leading the way, 26:51. As Labbé will drive to the line, finish up his final time, 1:12:69, 1:14:84 for Nordfun. Oh, and a big crash there, right in front of Ozarek. JC Lataille going down on the inner. Ozarek will finish up with a final time of 1:12:50. He was lucky to have not gotten taken out by Lataille in that last corner. JC Lataille just could not stay on his feet. We will likely have another delay as we await an ice repair, or at the very least an ice inspection. JC Lataille will just stand up and move to the inner. He looks okay, just a little shocked. As we look at our beautiful ice repair crew, operations guys here at the Oval. So lots of great action here at the Olympic Oval finale. Today is sprint day. Already this morning we've seen the men's 500 meter. Right now we are right in the middle of the men's 1,000 meter. Later on this afternoon, we'll see the ladies 500 and 1,000 as well. Stay tuned through the rest of the weekend for some more good racing. Tomorrow for the men, we will see the men's 5,000 meters. So right from the shortest distance to the longest distance. As we are about halfway through this 1,000 meter competition. 5 races to go before a brief flood break. In our next race, we will have Damian Zurich from Poland and Keegan Christ from Saskatchewan. They'll be followed a half lap later by Christian Reinten from Norway and Peter van Velde from the Netherlands. So skaters have struggled to stay on their feet in this 1,000 meter. Couple big crashes necessitating ice repairs. But the whistle is blown and it looks like we are ready to go with quartet number 16. Zurek, Christ, Reinten, and Van Velde. Damien Zurek's personal best is a 1:12. He'll be looking to dip under that. Keegan Christ, a short track skater, finished his last competition last weekend in Montreal. National team selections. And he's just decided to close out the competitive year with a long track race. Christian Reinten and Van Velde underway now as well. Zurek took that opener in the first pair at 17-4, 17-6 for Christ. Let's see if our second pair can keep pace. Christian Reinten leading the way. His opening split 17-2, 17-9 for Van Velde. As we hear the bell lap for Keegan Christ. He's got a lead over his pair. 26:45 was his 400-meter split. Respectable 400-meter time for a short track skater. Here's the bell for our second pair. Neck and neck. Van Velde now taking over the lead. Low 26 for him. Low 27 for Reinten as Christ will drive to the line. Kicking like a short tracker skater. His final time 1:12.19. 1:13.21 for Zurek. And it's still neck and neck in our second pair, but Van Velde will take it. 1:11.57, 1:11.74 for Christian Reinten. And that wraps up pairs 30 and 31. Now moving on to pairs 32 and 33. Hanno Damen from the Netherlands racing Justin Stelly from the United States. They'll be followed by Oliver Grob and Adrian Hannigan. Justin Stelly, a longtime fixture on the American scene. He's an inline speed skater who has intermittently moved over to the ice. And Stelly was just behind Damen through 200 meters. Both skaters in the mid-17s. Grob and Hannigan now underway. Grob from Switzerland, Hannigan from Alberta. Grob's opening split 17-0, 17-5 for Hannigan. And one lap to go for our first pair. Hanno Damen maintaining his lead over Justin Stelly. See who has the legs in the final corner. They're still close. Oliver Grob has the lead in the second pair. His lap time 26-7, 27-5 for Hannigan. And Stelly making a valiant comeback at the finish line, trying to kick. And they tied at the line. We'll have to go down to the 1,000th as our second pair will come through. This is Grob and Hannigan. Grob's going to take this one. Not as close on the second pair. 1:12.54 his time. 1:14.62 for Hannigan. So stay tuned to see who won that race between Hanno Damen and Justin Stelly, as it was so close at the line, both skaters tying to the 100th. As we look at our next race, this is Max Halleck and Magnus Haugli from Alberta and Norway. They'll be followed by Bin Zhao from China and Lex Dijkstra from the Netherlands. As we get a brief look at our first pair coming through 200, 17.7 and 17.9. Good openers for both skaters. Zhu Bin and Lex Dijkstra. They come through neck and neck. 17.7, 17.8, so close race between all four skaters through 200 meters. And these quartets go fast. Already 1 lap to go for our first pair. Halleck has the lead. His lap time just under 27 seconds. But it's anyone's race still as Bin Zhao and Lex Dijkstra come through. Chinese skater just ahead of his pair, but Dijkstra's gaining ground. And finishing times, Magnus Hagley finishes just ahead of Halleck, 1:12.92, 1:13.23 for his pair. And Lex Dijkstra coming around the outside is going to beat Bin Zhao. 1:11.69 is his final time, 1:12.44 for Zhao. So 2 races to go before a Zamboni break. Cornelius Kirsten from Great Britain in the inner lane, and John Rinchuk from Manitoba in the outer. They'll be followed by Tyler Hartlib and Matthew Laxton in the second pair. Thousand meter is a fairly unique distance in that the skaters start and finish in the same lane. That can sometimes be an advantage for the skater in the inner lane, since it is easy to hold speed in the inner lane on that last corner when the legs are killing. Kirsten took the opener, 17.3, 18.1 for Hinchuk. The second pair comes through their openers. Identical, 18.3. And already the bell lap for Cornelius Kirsten and John Hinchuk. And who has the lead here? It's Kirsten, about 2 seconds up on Hinchuk with 1 lap to go. So he will go over the top from the outer lane to the inner lane on that final corner. And we see Tyler Hartlib and Matthew Laxton with 1 lap to go. Hartlib has a half-second lead over Laxton, as Kirsten will take this pair. 1:12.75 his final time, 1:16.69 for Hrinchuk. And into the final corner is our last pair. Always difficult last corner. Tyler Hartlib finishes the 1:15.96, 1:16.63 for Laxton. And we are now on to the final quartet, the last 2 pairs before a brief flood break. Simon Kutz from Manitoba and Kevin Mercanton from Sweden are in the first pair. In the second pair, it's Tyler Kane from the United States and Cody Miller from Alberta. So about a minute and a half remaining in the first half of the 1,000 meters this afternoon. Kutz and Mercanton underway. Mercanton starting in the outer using a down start or a 3-point start. That means that he puts his hand on the ice and starts a little bit like a track runner. Kutz with a more traditional start. And through 200 meters, Mercanton has a big lead, 17-2, 18-1 for his pair. As our second pair of the quartet, yellow and blue armbands come through. They are much closer, 17-7 for both skaters. Kane and Miller neck and neck. Tyler Kane trying to hold that first inner. Lots of speed in the first lap of the 1,000 meter. As Mercanton and Coots have got their bell lap. They have about 200 meters remaining. Mercanton with a big lead. Coots making up ground though. And Kane has now carved out a lead. 26.8 was his lap time, 27.4 for Miller. But it's all Kevin Mercanton in the first pair. He will finish with a final time of 1:12.91. Coots 1:14.65. As we look at our second pair of the quartet coming through, Tyler Kane has the lead. His final time 1:12.80. Miller 1:15.10. And so that wraps up the first 20 quartets of the men's 1,000 meter at the oval finale. We will be back at 1:25 Mountain Standard Time for more racing. 1:25 for the next round of 1,000 meters. Stay tuned.